All right, it's that time of year to talk about
Halloween.
And what is that first event kind of kicks it off for the theme park season?
Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party.
I'm Brad.
I'm Kim.
And we're 626 Ohana, California.
So we went to the first night of Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party at Walt Disney World's Magic Kingdom. And so we have a lot of tips and reviews of our evenings, things that we did right and things that we could have done better.
Yeah, what did we learn from last year into 2024's, this year's Mickey's Not So Scary? Well, we're going to let you know. So let's go ahead and start with...
So you can enter the event if you did not have a annual pass or theme park ticket for the day starting at 4 p.m.
So if you're entering that park at 4 o'clock, expect a big crowd at the gate.
So we actually used our annual pass and we went inside, and later at 6 o'clock we were able to get our event wristbands, and in the meantime we could kind of get ahead in lines. We actually used that time to go get kind of like an early dinner.
There are several places through the park where you can get those wristbands. We got ours over by where it was the old Stitch
Greatest Escape.
So it was over in that area. So check the maps or ask people or ask cast members, and they'll be able to direct you towards the closest one.
So with that, they gave us the cute little bags, our event wristband, and we were off.
Yep. And also another thing to know, if you do have allergies, let them know. They have a special bag and a special system for you to be able to still go trick-or-treating and have all the fun of it. Let's talk about what we ended up doing. As Kim alluded, we already used our annual passes to get in, which allowed us to jump that huge line outside. And we actually went to dinner to start off because we knew a lot of the events weren't going to start until
6 or 7.
Closer to 7 o'clock.
Yeah.
So we went and got dinner. This is where one of your first decisions could be made. If you really want to go do rides, that 4 to 6:30-ish time would be the time to really get those rides in that you really want to get in.
I would say after 6 and the day guests are out, especially if you want to get in like Tiana's Bayou or Tron, that would be a good time to kind of sneak those in.
Especially with those two, because they're still working on a virtual queue, so a lot of those people are already gone. And at 6 o'clock, they are basically saying, if you're not having that green wristband, you need to leave the park. So that could be a really good time to go get those in if you really want to. But the lines were still pretty long for those.
So later they did get better, but you know, it may not be your thing to go ride those during the Halloween party, which is absolutely understandable. But just in case you want to sneak those in, we chose to get in line early for photo op with Stitch.
Yeah, this is one of the biggest mistakes we made last year, is that photo op that we really wanted, which for us was Stitch, but it could be with you. We don't talk about Bruno, right? But it could be one of the other characters you really want to get pictures with. A lot of these lines get really long. They take a long time. We made sure with Stitch, because they can get up to over 2 hours long, is to get in line early. We got in about 5:45
Yes.
or so.
And we probably 7:15 we got to meet Stitch.
Yep. So we waited a while, but it was well worth it, because it took us, when Stitch came out at 7, took us 15 minutes to meet Stitch, and we were free to do the rest of the stuff for the night. Another thing else, if you really want to buy merch, really want to do early, and they actually set that out a lot of places early. We ended up going to Star Traders about
5 o'clock. We went over there. Plus, they had a mobile checkout, which saved us a ton of time.
Yeah, use that mobile checkout, because everybody else was lined up. We were able to get that and go right to their line to Stitch, and people were mobbing the merchandise.
Yeah, it's like Black Friday flashbacks.
Another thing to be aware of is if you really want that Mickey popcorn bucket or that sipper that they have.
Yeah, the Mary Sanderson sipper.
Is that if that's your priority, you may want to get in line for that at these times, just because those lines can get ridiculously long.
So they're not going to start selling the sippers or the popcorn bucket until after 6 and the day guests are gone. So that's kind of an important thing, because they are now limiting how many they sell per event. So those did sell out. So did the special party food or treats. So as we found out, I wanted to get Madame Leota's seance candle, and by 9 o'clock it was already sold out. And so that was kind of something I wish we would have gone to earlier.
Yeah. So we'll get into that a little bit more here a little later. So what do we do after we get our photo of Stitch? Is our first strategy from learning from last year was trying to get away for us from Tomorrowland because it seems like a lot of people are in that area to start out with.
It does.
So we ended up actually going over to Fantasyland.
So we ended up doing 2 real quick trick-or-treat trails. Once again, that was not probably the wisest decision, but that just gave us something to snack on during the evening. And then we went over to ride Haunted Mansion, which was amazing. They had the extra characters out by Madame Leota's tombstone, and they were so much fun.
And we also got some pictures over there because they're really cool pictures. That did take a little bit. The wait time for us was about 25 minutes to get into Haunted Mansion because I think a lot of people are waiting until it got dark to do Haunted Mansion because it is really cool. Even during the day when we went, it was really neat in the colors.
They had some fog and lights, and it adds to the ambiance. And then throughout that time, we also took the time to look at areas that had less people for magic shots to get some of those in because those were really fun. I wish we actually would have done a few more, but the one thing about Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party is time flies.
Yeah, it goes really quick. There were those 3D cutout boxes. We did get a picture of that right when we came into the park. We were waiting to get some at night because they were supposed to be really cool at night, and we saw them last year at night, and they were really neat. Unfortunately, I think it just escaped our mind.
Goals for next year.
Yeah. But yeah, we got through a lot of the trails and started working our way through all the different treat trails as we were working our way through the park, going through Frontierland and everything. Our goal was to try to stay away from the crowds where the crowds were really, and there was a couple of spots that we saw the trails for the trick-or-treat trails were extremely long.
Actually, I think compared to last year, this year, the trick-or-treating trails were longer waits.
Yeah, they were, a few of them were longer waits, but when we went over to somewhere else, sometimes there were no waits. And this happened especially towards the parades.
So one of the great things about the Halloween party is the entertainment is phenomenal. It is amazing. And honestly, I would say not to be missed, especially fireworks.
Yeah, so there is a couple of things here. First, you have a couple of choices for the Mickey's Boo to You Halloween parade. You have the first one that starts, depending on season, be earlier in the evening, which is really cool because you have the Headless Horseman, you have Max as Powerline performing and dancing with kids and everything. It was really neat.
But he only comes through on the Main Street route past where there's kind of that break in the street, so it's not all of Main Street. It's not by the castle. You have to be on Main Street.
And so yeah, that Main Street area is great for that. Why we're talking about that is a little bit why that is important. We'll get a little bit more into that later. Is that you can actually catch the parade at 2 different times and try to split up your time so you can maximize your time hitting the trails and not disrupting your flow.
Now, the other thing is, I will say at night, I would think is better is a Headless Horseman because really the lights and everything add to spooky, fun ambiance, and really, he's amazing.
Yeah, and the thing is, the reason we're saying this is because when we had the parade start, it was still a little bit daylight out, not totally dark. Okay, so yeah, it was cool, and at night, yeah, they're both good. So I guess it's whatever time feels great for you. If you're gonna make it,
and I could see if you have littles and younger kids, that might be a better option.
And so there is another show that shows 3 to 4 times depending on time of year.
It's the Hocus Pocus Villain Spectacular.
Yeah, so that is what we found with that is the first show seemed to be last year when we went to it was completely packed. You couldn't move.
So we went to the second show this year, and we could walk up kind of right before, and it was really easy to see.
Yeah, we were right by Walt's statue there, and it was really easy to see, and you could see everything. It was a great view, and didn't feel like we were crowding in, and didn't feel like we were being overly crowded in.
And of course, you have Disney's Not So Spooky Spectacular Fireworks Show, which I love it. It's the projections on the castle. It's just everything tied together. It is magical.
So this only goes once a night. So this is where it's going to get crowded, and people were waiting quite a while to be able to get their spots for this. But truthfully, we were farther back, and we were able to do everything and still enjoy the show from farther back of the main area there.
Yeah, absolutely. And
I mean, I'm showing you the pictures now, and it doesn't look like that's far back, and it's with no zoom. So that's great.
So one of the things that, as far as tips, I would say, so the food and the snack lines, as the event gets going, they become longer and longer wait times. So if there's something you want, especially because certain things sold out, whether it's sippers or Madame Leota's seance candle, I would make sure that I would go get those items that you really want to try early.
And it goes with pictures. That's another tip that we were talking about. If you really want that character picture, is to get in those lines early in the evening, because they only get longer, and we really didn't see any uplight of the character pictures at all night.
Also, later in the evening that you go trick-or-treating, the better. They give more candy, there's lesser lines, it's just better experience. We really think that going later in the night to get trick-or-treating done, maybe even if you've done the earlier Booty You or Hocus Pocus show, that you go and you trick-or-treat afterwards.
Yeah, you can get through. We actually got through some trails a couple of times. We didn't leave without full bags of candy. Another thing with a couple of those trails, with the Monsters Laugh Floor and also with PhilharMagic, is that they have kind of with Laugh Floor, they have a comedy show. It's kind of fun to go through, and they'll make fun of you as you walk through, which they did with her. But also with PhilharMagic, they're playing some old Disney Halloween shows. We happened to walk through one time with Ichabod Crane and the Headless Horseman, which was an old cartoon, which I loved. And people were sitting there, and it's a good way to sit and cool off.
And if you get a little tired, it's just, or want to watch something that you don't always have access to, it's a great thing to watch.
Another thing we wish we would have done is watch the parade over in Frontierland, and just watch not the first part of it, but the main float parade, I guess is to put it. And then later that evening, right before we're leaving, is plan out our time to be on Main Street when the Headless Horseman and Max as Powerline come through, and watch that and then left the park, because really after that happened on the last showing at the parade, it was a mad rush out to the transportation.
I think what you're trying to say is to watch the earliest Booty You Halloween parade, and then later in the night is just watch the Headless Horseman and the Max's Powerline.
Yeah.
So 2 different times, 2 separate parade times, but you're kind of making the most so you don't miss both aspects of the parade.
Yeah, and you get both parades in, and you get to leave a little bit earlier before that whole big rush crowd comes out. Because unfortunately for us, we had a flight that had to leave early in the morning the next morning. So it really crushed us on time for that part. It was one big learning experience for us.
And if I wasn't worried about time, I would probably do the 12 o'clock Hocus Pocus Villain Spooktacular at the 12 o'clock show. So you've done everything, but you're actually leaving the park later if you don't mind those longer transportation lines.
Yeah, because everybody's going to be leaving at that 12 o'clock for a lot of times. It may even actually be to your advantage just to wait a little bit for it to clear out. Another question a lot of people are going to be asking, was it a significant change from 2023 to 2024 for Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party?
Here's what I'm going to say. There was a little controversy because there was not the 7 Dwarfs photo op. However, there's now Maribel or Bruno photo ops.
We don't talk about Bruno.
Oh, right. Sorry, I forgot. That was unexpected. There was a lot of disappointment. So sometimes if you really want to see a character one year, maybe they won't be there the next year.
Yeah. But it really the main elements hadn't really changed from last year to this year. The thing that we found out with this year is there's things that we were able to do this year we weren't able to do last year, and things we did last year we didn't do this year. So I guess sometimes it works out that way.
It does. And then, of course, every year the merch changes and the snacks. Sometimes you get some of the same Halloween party treats that are the same, but a lot of times they change. So this year I was excited to try the Anti-Gravity's Galactic Goodies. They had a candy corn soft serve sundae. So it was a sweet corn soft serve with butterscotch shell. So think about like that old chocolate, or think about that chocolate syrup that you pour on and harden as a shell on an ice cream sundae you could get at the store. It was the same kind of thing, but it was butterscotch. And it had a candy corn. Interestingly enough, I really didn't get a candy corn flavor except for the actual candy corn flavors. It was more of the butterscotch. I really like that butterscotch shell on it. But as far as I couldn't really get much flavor out of the soft serve ice cream, so I thought that was really unique. Overall, it was okay. I definitely expected more out of it.
So with those treats, sometimes they're really good, and it's like we were saying earlier, they can sell out and before you get to try them. So maybe something early in the evening to try.
I would absolutely go to the Disney Parks website, kind of plan out what you want to try, and if there's something that you have your heart set on, I would go do that first.
So that's our ultimate tip: is plan out your whole night. I know we just planned out a whole Disney vacation a lot of times, and unfortunately, this is another situation where you're going to have to go, okay, I want to go here, I want to get this, I want to get this, and you're going to have to plan out that night. So that's our number one tip.
It helps maximize your party. Of course, things happen and you see something, you get sidelined, but especially with, I think, the shows and the characters that you want to see, those are really important too, because you're only going to get to see so many characters, especially if you're wanting to go to the most popular ones.
Okay. So if you're finding this video helpful, please
like,
subscribe,
and follow along with our Ohana.
So with that, did we enjoy our time?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we had a great time. We had a lot of fun. We learned so much from the year before that we applied this year, and it worked really well. There's a few things we wish we still could have done, but there is just no way to do everything in the party in one night. So yeah, might as well make it 2 years in a row, right? And with that, I think it's time for us to say goodbye and
find your magic. Bye, everyone.